Have you ever noticed that the quietest person in the room is often the most respected? While loud people usually attract immediate attention, quiet people possess a different kind of power, one that is often underestimated. In today's world where everyone seems to be competing to be seen and heard, silence has become rare. And because it's rare, it has value. Psychologists have discovered that quiet people often have stronger observation skills than those who constantly talk. While others are busy expressing their opinions, quiet individuals are paying attention. They're watching body language, listening carefully, and noticing details that most people completely miss. This ability gives them an advantage in conversations, relationships, and decision-making. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever shared too much information with someone who barely spoke? Many people do. Silence makes others feel the need to fill the gap. And as a result, quiet people often learn far more about others than others learn about them. Information is power, and quiet people understand this better than most. Another reason quiet people are powerful is their emotional control. When faced with stress, criticism, or conflict, many people react immediately. They become angry, defensive, or emotional. Quiet people often take a different approach. Instead of reacting, they pause. They think. They analyze the situation before responding. This ability to remain calm under pressure allows them to make better decisions and avoid unnecessary mistakes. Perhaps the biggest misconception about quiet people is that they lack confidence. In reality, many quiet individuals don't feel the need to constantly prove themselves. They are comfortable with who they are. They don't seek approval from everyone around them. This kind of self-confidence is incredibly powerful because it comes from within rather than from external validation. Studies have also shown that people who speak less are often perceived as more intelligent and thoughtful. When someone talks nonstop, their words can lose impact. But when a quiet person finally speaks, people listen. Their words carry weight because they choose them carefully. They understand that sometimes saying less creates a stronger impression than saying more. Many successful leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators share this trait. They aren't necessarily the loudest people in the room. Instead, they focus on listening, learning, and understanding before taking action. Their strength comes from awareness, patience, and strategic thinking. The truth is that real power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's hidden behind calm eyes, careful observation, and thoughtful silence. The next time you meet a quiet person, don't mistake their silence for weakness. They may be observing everything, understanding more than they reveal, and possessing a level of self-control that many people never achieve. Because in a world full of noise, the person who masters silence often becomes the most powerful person in the room. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately noticed the loudest person there? Most people do. The person telling stories, making jokes, and constantly speaking often becomes the center of attention. But have you ever noticed something else? When a quiet person finally speaks, everyone suddenly listens. It's an interesting phenomenon. In a world that rewards noise, silence has become one of the rarest and most powerful traits a person can possess. Yet quiet people are often misunderstood. Many assume they are shy, insecure, weak, or lacking confidence. But psychology suggests something very different. In fact, some of the most powerful people in the world are not the loudest. They are the observers, the thinkers, and the listeners. One of the greatest strengths of quiet people is their ability to observe. While others are busy talking, they are collecting information. They notice facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, and subtle emotional changes that most people completely miss. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to learn something new. Imagine two people attending the same meeting. One person talks constantly, sharing opinions and trying to impress everyone in the room. The other person listens carefully and speaks only when necessary. At the end of the meeting, who do you think understands the room better? Usually, it's the listener. That's because listening allows people to gather information. And information is one of the greatest forms of power. Quiet people understand that every person they meet knows something they don't. Instead of focusing on being heard, they focus on learning. Psychologists often refer to this as active observation. Highly observant people are better at understanding social situations because they notice details that others ignore. They can often predict reactions, understand motivations, and recognize hidden emotions before anyone else does. This ability becomes especially valuable in relationships. Quiet people tend to notice changes in behavior. They can often tell when someone is upset, stressed, excited, or hiding something. While others focus on words, quiet people pay attention to actions, and actions rarely lie. Another reason quiet people are powerful is their emotional control. Most people react immediately when something goes wrong. They become angry, frustrated, defensive, or anxious. Their emotions take control of their decisions. Quiet people often take a different approach. Instead of reacting instantly, they pause, they think, they analyze, then they respond. This simple habit gives them a tremendous advantage in life. When emotions are high, good judgment becomes difficult. People say things they regret. They make decisions they later wish they could take back. But quiet individuals often create a small space between what happens and how they respond. That space allows them to think clearly. Imagine receiving harsh criticism. Many people would immediately argue back or become upset. A quiet person may listen first. They may consider whether the criticism is valid. They may decide whether a response is even necessary. That level of self-control is incredibly powerful because it prevents emotions from controlling behavior. In fact, psychologists consider emotional regulation one of the strongest indicators of maturity and long-term success. Another fascinating thing about quiet people is that they often appear more confident than they actually realize. This may sound strange because society tends to associate confidence with talking a lot and being outgoing. But true confidence doesn't always look that way. Real confidence is feeling secure without needing constant attention or approval. Many loud people seek validation. They want recognition. They want others to notice them. They want reassurance that they matter. Quiet people often don't depend on that external validation. They know who they are. They don't feel the need to constantly prove themselves. And because they aren't desperately seeking approval, they often appear more confident and self-assured. People naturally respect individuals who seem comfortable in their own skin. This is one reason why quiet people can have such a strong presence. Their confidence comes from within rather than from the reactions of others. There is also a psychological principle known as scarcity. The less available something is, the more valuable it often appears. The same principle applies to words. When someone talks constantly, their words can lose impact. People begin to tune them out. But when a quiet person finally speaks, everyone pays attention. Why? Because their words are rare. People assume they must have something important to say. Whether consciously or unconsciously, silence creates value. This is why many successful leaders choose their words carefully. They understand that speaking less often makes people listen more. Another reason quiet people are powerful is their ability to think deeply. Modern life is full of distractions, notifications, social media, endless conversations, constant noise. Many people spend so much time reacting to information that they rarely stop to think about it. Quiet people often enjoy solitude because it gives them space to reflect. Reflection leads to insight. Insight leads to better decisions. And better decisions lead to better outcomes. Some of the greatest inventions, discoveries, and ideas in history were developed during periods of solitude. When people are alone with their thoughts, creativity often increases. The mind has room to connect ideas, solve problems, and imagine possibilities. This is why many writers, scientists, entrepreneurs, and innovators intentionally spend time alone. They understand that silence creates clarity. Another misconception is that quiet people lack leadership skills. In reality, many exceptional leaders are naturally quiet. Leadership is not about speaking the most. It's about influencing others. It's about making good decisions. It's about remaining calm during difficult situations. A quiet leader often earns respect because they listen before they act. They consider different perspectives. They avoid unnecessary drama. And when they finally make a decision, people trust that it was carefully thought out. Research has even shown that quieter leaders can be highly effective because they encourage others to contribute ideas instead of dominating every conversation. This creates stronger teams and better results. Perhaps the most misunderstood thing about quiet people is that many assume silence means weakness. But silence can also be a sign of strength. Sometimes quiet people stay silent because they understand something important. Not every argument deserves a response. Not every insult deserves attention. Not every opinion deserves energy. Wisdom is knowing when to speak and when to walk away. Many people waste enormous amounts of time trying to win arguments, prove points, and convince people who have no intention of listening. Quiet people often recognize this. Instead of fighting every battle, they choose the ones that matter. That is not weakness. That is strategy.